You've seen it countless times in the last year. It's really accelerated in the last year since George Floyd died. But affluent professional white people reaching a kind of religious ecstasy, talking about how much they despise themselves because of their own skin color. Mainstream Protestantism died in this country, and this variety of self-loathing appears to have taken its place. Here's the latest example.
Yesterday, I realized that I'm white and that I have all the advantages of being part of that group. I was reading White Fragility. I'm like, oh, okay. I think I'm taking that next step in my journey to understanding what's happening, what equity is about, what racial equity is about, what anti-racism is about, and what racism is about. I realized that I'm white as part of a white supremacy culture.
The next step of my journey. All of this, by the way, at its root is just pure narcissism. And that's why it only appeals to a certain kind of professional class, unhappy person. Many of them female, just to be totally honest about it, but not exclusively. Anyway, it's terrible. It's racist by definition. You shouldn't hate people or yourself because of how you were born or your skin color. That's the opposite of what this country stood for. It's the opposite of what Martin Luther King preached. And it makes it impossible to live as a country if this crap continues. But it is continuing. In fact, it's accelerating. The state of Washington just made anti-weight training mandatory for all staff in all public schools. Jason Rantz has been following this story. He's a radio show host out in Seattle. He joins us tonight. Hey, Jason, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Mandatory, huh?
Yeah, it's mandatory. And just to go over some of the training, only white people can be racist. Slavery was never actually abolished. Low-income white people actually are benefiting from their white privilege. Now, that's just from Highline Public Schools. This is a district a little bit south of Seattle. Now, according to the law, all of these schools actually have to start teaching the so-called anti-racist equity training, which is actually in favor of racism and does not lead to equitable outcomes, quite the opposite. But there are a lot of school districts all across the state that are already doing this. And this is one district, for example, that's been doing this for years. They've got a race symposium, which is where that video came from. So one teacher who was pretty upset about the documents that were put in front of this teacher and some of the videos and the training actually leaked a lot of this to me. And I just pulled some of the cuts, including race as a social construct created to advance white supremacy, and that if you get defensive when you're called a racist, well, of course, that's also white supremacy culture in action. They're being told that suburbs
may
are
I interrupt you right there? Wait, I mean, I don't think any of us want to live in a country where people are racially self-conscious, where you think about your race all the time, that you don't want to live in that place. Yeah. It's Rwanda. It's bad. Has it occurred to any of these geniuses that they are going to make your average white person racially self-aware, some of them really radical, in a bad way, if they keep up with this crap, if they keep attacking people on the basis of qualities that those people can't control? Like, they're creating radicalism. Do they know that?
I don't think they realize that they're doing that because they're talking to a very specific group of people that they're trying to become subservient to an ideological cause. And they think they're justified in the shaming, the race-based shaming that they're doing to these people and eventually doing to these kids. That's really what this is about. They're not really focused on the adults. They're not talking to the adults. They're talking to the kids. This training right now is going to be to the staff members. But the end goal is to propagandize, indoctrinate children. That's the end goal. And when you get all of our nation's kids believing this garbage, this trash, this toxic thinking, well then, when they're in charge, it doesn't matter that older folks who are dying out actually hold that position. That's how they think. They're trying to create a revolution, one critical race theory training session at a time. It really is nefarious in its intent. And I don't think they realize or really care about the danger that it's creating in this environment. And thankfully, there are teachers who are leaking a lot of this stuff out, who are complaining, and who aren't going to put this in front of kids. But it's the parents that really need to step up and protect them from this.
Yeah, stop being passive. Put down the bong. Yeah. Do something about this. This will wreck the country. For real. This is really scary. I appreciate your reporting on it. Jason Rantz, thank you.
Thanks, Tucker.